Good morning, Giants. Welcome to Wake Up with Giants TV. Have you ever wondered how to be creatively unconscious? Well, we've got someone from Malta to explain it all. I was going to say good morning in Maltese, but I'd probably screw it up. So
I know. I think I forgot it. Is it Lodwa Itaiba?
You got it right.
Lodwa Itaiba, Giants. First time we're saying it in Maltese.
Yes.
Yeah. Good morning.
Good morning. We have a special guest today with us, Nick. Marie.
Who's here? Yeah.
Me. I showed up.
It's like act surprise. Oh, we have somebody here, huh?
I'm not a hallucination. No.
Yeah, wow.
I'm real.
Yeah.
We
Maureen
both turned the same
Pisani.
direction.
Joining us live from Malta or New Mexico, whichever's closer.
Yes.
Yeah. Indistinguishable. Yeah.
Santa Fe.
Santa Fe.
Santa Fe. Thank you, God. Yes. Currently Santa Fe.
We got a great
There's
topic.
a Newsies song, Santa Fe.
Is there?
You ever watch Newsies the musical? Santa Fe. Yeah. Go watch Newsies. Then you'll know
I know there's a song.
how special it is.
How old are you, dude? 84? Like
No, just 4. I watch musicals in my spare time.
I like musicals, actually.
Santa Fe is mentioned in Rent.
What's that?
Santa Fe
Rent.
is the song in Rent, the musical.
Oh, it is?
That they're all going to Santa Fe because it's way better than New York. So
Why is that the go-to from
Might
New
be
York
true.
straight to Santa Fe?
Well, let's dive in. Let's talk about some unconsciousness.
mm-hmm.
You know, it's definitely prevalent, and the good news is we're not even aware of it. You know,
It does a lot for us and sometimes a lot against us. And I think delving into it and becoming aware of it is going to give us leverage to appreciate where we are where it's beneficial to us to ride the wave and where we need to be aware because the patterns happen on a daily basis that are creating our own hindrances and our own obstacles.
Yeah.
I agree. Yes.
So in the book, so we're doing the live event on the 28th of this month. And if you're not registered yet, go register because this is going to be powerful. We have all 8 of the Giants, the league members teaching this course. And so it's only $19.95 to join.
That's guys, you got to go there.
Yeah, it's a crazy price. But what we're teaching on, one of the first principles, the very first principle is unconsciousness, because in the book, we teach everything from the book, the Giants and the Smalls. And in the book, the story starts out with Rit eating his pea soup and crackers and living a small life, not really realizing what he didn't know, living the life he was taught to live, and really knowing no difference until he actually sees the Giants and starts to ask questions. And so many of us operate in our lives that way, where we just don't even know that we have a say in our lives. We just go around thinking things happen to us, that it's by fate. If some people are lucky, others are not. And so that's what we're trying to create here, is an awakening from that space that you do have consciousness. So my first thought around this, though, is consciousness easy? Like when you go from that unconscious state to the conscious state, is that an easy thing?
I think it depends on who we are, what our history is, and where we are in that moment.
Yeah.
Most people do not like the word change because change means leaving what you've gotten accustomed to and creating something new. So the unconscious part here is that we get very safe. We feel very safe because our unconscious mind loves homeostasis. But homeostasis isn't enjoying the good. Homeostasis is repeating what you're accustomed to. Because if we go back in time, like evolution, what stayed the same was considered safe. So if I was a prehistoric person going through a jungle and I know that these trees have always been there, I'm not afraid of them. But if something moves in the shrubs or in the undergrowth, that could be a jaguar, that could be a tiger, that could be a predator.
I
So,
get freaked out when something moves in the undergrowths.
so if something
I
changes,
do too.
we get feared. So if the homeostasis keeps us in the same what we got accustomed to, aka safe. But what we got accustomed to could have been misery, could have been lack, could have been abuse, could have been pea soup and crackers every day, God forbid. Could have been
Yeah.
everything, right? So soon as we are opened up to, any of us, opened up to a new, so we talk about abundance. So most of us have an income that we're used to. And then we see somebody living, the show, there used to be a show, The Life of the Rich and Famous. You see that unbelievable abundance. And you're like, wow. Now, is that opening us to, I would love that, so I'm going to work toward it? Or is it what most people say? Oh, that's how the other half lives.
Huh.
Instantly disconnecting, instantly saying that's for them, but this is for me.
Why do
Yeah.
we do that? Why do we why do we just
Fear of change.
Hmm.
So as soon as he got aware that there were giants, he got curious. And that's the secret ace.
Yeah, that curiosity.
The
That
curiosity opened the doors.
there's some research. What book was it? It was around fear as an addiction, and anxiety as an addiction rather than an illness. It's an addiction. And one of the things that happens inside of anxiety is this closing off of all the reasons why you can't do something. Whereas curiosity, they found through research that curiosity, just getting curious about something, opens up the brain again. And so at an unconscious level, your brain actually expands and you're able to get back into that state of creation. Fear, you don't create in a fear state.
No.
So there's kind of a paradox there because unconsciousness is this safe state, but you can also not be creating because you have this creation that you've made and you know what to expect and the trees are stable and they're not moving, which is a good thing, but you're not adding to that environment. You're in homeostasis.
Yeah, you're drifting.
Yeah, you're drifting.
Drifting
And so
is a wasted energy.
yeah, wow. Yeah, can you speak to that?
Well, drifting, imagine, you have a boat and you just oar and row yourself out enough out of the harbor. And then you're like, whatever, let's see where the current takes us.
Yeah.
it'll take you somewhere.
Yeah, but that's the thing. It's not going to take you where you want. And most people live every day. I know you've heard people say it. Today will take care of itself and then tomorrow will show up. I'll deal with today and then we'll deal with tomorrow. But if you don't have a destination, if you don't have the next harbor to arrive to, and you don't go with purpose, setting a plan, then you're in the same old, same old.
Yeah, purpose wakes you up. So that having a purpose, that place to get to, you have to be conscious within that. I mean, there's an awareness that's required to move toward that thing because if you're unconscious about it, you'll just end up wherever you end up.
Yes.
And then you'll call it fate.
Oh, yeah. Oh, it was deemed. Or
Yeah.
this is what my family does. Or my people always have this. We wrap it in sentences that make the current situation appropriate. Because our unconscious mind has one intention, to keep us safe. But it also needs to be right. So how we tweak it. And it comes down to something I'm actually working on, self-identity. Now, as we grow up, the first 8 years of our life, we were told what we're good at. We were told, oh, you're curious, or you're energized, or you're good at this, or you're bad at this. And we built it up. So this is who I am. And we have to fit in there. Because then if we break away, and again, he had to make the decision because finding out about the giants was a possibility.
Right.
But then he actually took the steps to go all the way and to learn and became.
Yeah. And there's importance in that. He left what he knew. He walked away from what he knew
Exactly.
to learn something new.
Exactly. Most of us can't. Most of us have this need to belong. Now, I'm telling you, love your family. Love your country, love your community, but be aware, because if all of your family is stuck in the status quo of this is what we deserve, which by the way we all deserve better, then what happens if you break away?
Yeah.
You're going to open up. Yes, you're going to break away from them. Yes, they're not going to be very happy about it. But yes, you're going to also show them that better is available.
Yeah, we were talking the other day about evolutions in the human body. You know, how the body replaces nearly every cell every 7 years. And as a thought, as a construct here, the idea that every 7 years you evolve into a completely new cellular person, like in every way. And so who you were when you were born is different from who you are today. But what happens is that we carry forward that programming, and then it gets programmed into the new cellular structure. And so even though it's not identical, it's still similar enough that it creates the world the way you've always known it. But at any point you can step off of that path and redirect it and recreate it. And 7 years from now, that path won't even be a memory. It's like, wow, that's so unfamiliar to me.
That's fantastic. You got it.
Yes.
But
So,
it takes the courage to do it.
Yeah, it looks like we got an angry face. So I'm curious if there is an angry face.
I'm so angry. I just kept getting the angry face.
What came up? If there is something that came up in that,
Maybe they're sad at where they're at. And they're
or it was an
realizing,
accident. I always hit the
crap, I'm angry with
accidental angry.
myself.
It could be.
Well,
Yeah, go ahead.
something that we can, if we're angry, if this is hitting a chord that is triggering anger.
Yeah.
Anger is an innate response, right?
Yeah.
We don't say, I'm going to become angry in 3 seconds. We become angry.
Right. Give me a minute so I can get angry, please.
It's happening. 3, 2, 1. Hulk smash.
So anger is a response.
Yeah.
An instinctive response. The underlying emotion of anger is fear.
Yeah.
So we're looking at something that we don't like, that we know we need to change, but we're fearful of how we're going to change it. So we're stuck in this energy that's basically revving our engine on neutral. We're not going anywhere. We're just wasting energy. And anger is enough to show us that there's a clash of energy for us.
Yeah.
And the good news is this. It doesn't matter how old you are. It doesn't matter if you've just found out about this information right now or 10 years ago. You can do something about it right now.
Right.
If something is bothering you, there's, I think, an Abraham Lincoln quote. He says, if the situation is not what you like, you're not a tree. Move.
Yeah. You know, there's
that old Abe.
That old
He's
Abe.
amazing.
There's something about it though, because you get into apathy. I would say apathy is a lot like unconsciousness, is that your life just flows, you're drifting.
Mm-hmm.
And you get in this space of not really caring how it goes. You're not really taking action. It is what it is. Things happen to you, but I can handle it. It's kind of the dog on the nail analogy.
Yeah.
And then you get into this space of anger, brings you out of it. It's interesting that anger is a part of the grief process. That in every case, whether it's Susan Anderson's work or the research that's been done on the DABDA effect, you know, the denial and I don't know, what is it? Anger was the second one. And then bargaining.
Denial, anger, depression, bargaining, and acceptance.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's interesting that anger is a part of it because it takes you, anger actually is a higher level emotion than apathy. And so if it gets you into action, that's what we're looking for, because that anger is going to make you conscious enough to actually do something about it. And hopefully it's not destructive.
Correct. There's the very slippery slope of learned helplessness.
Mm-hmm.
And if we're stuck in victim mode, if we have a perspective of life that things happen to us, in neurolinguistic programming, we have cause and effect.
Yep.
So if we're stuck in effect, things happen to us. The boss fired me. The police officer gave me a speeding ticket. The water hose burst because I was holding it,
Right.
Then I'm always at a point where I have no energy to take control.
Yeah.
And it's basically a perspective. We heard an amazing lady talk about the speeding ticket. And she didn't say it was my fault. She didn't say it was his fault. She said something's out of alignment in me. So she took ownership. She took empowerment. And that perspective shift didn't make the ticket, I mean, it was annoying. I get it. But it wasn't a, oh my God, my life is over. I got a speeding ticket. It was, oh, this is a red flag. I have to be attentive. I'm in charge of me. I can change this. And she did. So when it comes to these things, we do have power. And anger, if nothing else, anger is a nice motivating energy to get you out of the funk.
Yeah.
That's like a I don't know, a paradox of sorts, right? Anger is a nice way to get us out of where we're at.
Like a soft pillow to lay your head on. It's
Anger
like,
is a soft transition to a wonderful new life.
Think about it. Well, we turn our cars on, right?
yep.
Our car doesn't start working unless there's an explosion.
Yeah.
We don't go, hey, nice car. I'm happy now. We just go and drive.
You don't talk that way to your car? I do. Yeah.
It depends on what you need. You know, if it's not starting, then you're really nice to your car.
I'm
Come on,
not.
baby. Yeah.
Mine died on the off ramp a couple of weeks ago, and I was on the phone with Nick. No, I didn't talk that way to my car.
yeah.
I got a different approach.
Oh, yes.
It
So
started though.
Here's one of the beautiful things about unconsciousness is unconsciousness isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's what you're unconscious with that creates your life. And so Alfred North Whitehead, he has a quote that says it's the number of unconscious behaviors that we can do by which civilization advances. And so our ability to go unconscious actually serves us because we can do things without thinking and then add other things to it. And then we continue to advance. And so this idea of going back to the idea of safety, that when we create security or certainty in our lives, we don't have to worry about that thing, changing on us. We can drive our car and be unconscious to it and arrive at a place and arrive there safely. But that ability to not have to think about driving is what allows us to do other things, to get to where we're going or create.
It's the learning curve. It's the 4 stages of learning. So all of us have a phone. Now, all of us remember that when we upgraded, which was a big thing, we told everybody, we just upgraded to this phone, right?
Right.
We went through a time, X amount of time, where we had a learning curve. And in those, whether it was minutes, hours, or days, we were very tempted to make that phone a Frisbee. Because it was like, oh my God, this is not working.
I've done that.
Recognize, right?
Literally.
So when it comes to, you guys are hilarious. So when it comes to how we learn, the 4 stages of learning, we start with unconscious incompetence. We don't know what we don't know. Like he didn't know there were giants.
Mm-hmm.
Then we become consciously incompetent.
Yeah, I call it blissful ignorance.
That's a nice way of saying it.
Yeah.
Because when, let's say, your first driving test, your driving class, or the first time, I can easily tell you, the first time I sat in organic chemistry, oh my goodness. Conscious incompetence.
Yeah.
Then we learn it. So then we start driving, but we're 10 and 2, and we're looking at the gear shifts, and we're looking at the mirrors. And that's conscious competence. Conscious incompetence. And then when it becomes second nature to us, all of us drive, we don't think about it, we sit, we turn on, and we go. That's unconscious competence. It's completely
Beautiful.
Natural. When we go through those things, which we know we need, you might rewind history before Henry Ford's, what was it, Model T?
Yeah.
Can you imagine all those people who wanted to drive a car? What was their learning curve? How long did it take them?
Yeah.
But now for us, at a point in time, we become curious. None of us go, no, these vehicles, these automobiles, no, or like my great aunt used to call them, these motors. These motors, no. So
yeah.
None of us say that. We're all curious to learn. So if it's within what we've accepted as a norm, what's acceptable to our family, we've seen our parents drive, we've seen our extended family drive, so it's okay. It's already been vetted and approved. But what if You, anyone out there, you were meant to become the first multimillionaire in your family. You were meant to be the first college graduate from your family. There is no reference point. Are you curious or are you afraid? Are you curious enough and courageous enough and annoyed enough with the status quo to take the step? Or are you going to just go, this is the family, we're barely making it, because that's how we live.
The beauty of all of this is it's an internal journey. When Rick goes out, this doesn't have anything to do with communities or in and out groups or anything like that. What it is he finds within him this discovery that the life that he was raised in no longer serves him. He goes out and finds the giants, learns from the giants, changes his life. And I've had a few reviews where people have said, well, you're creating in groups and out groups. This is the whole problem with America currently, that there's this division being created. When it comes to unconsciousness and consciousness, what you're doing is you're taking old behaviors and you're transforming them into something that's more competent, more conscious, more ownership inside of that. Like, this is who I want to be now. And there's no judgment of others. There's a space of holding grace for somebody else to have their unconscious levels, to have my unconscious levels, to, we all do it a little differently.
Yes.
And so, but it's always that internal journey. And I want to talk a little bit going into that pathway, because you talked about going from one way of being to another way of being. The brain supports us in that. The neurobiology of our brain is designed around creating myelin sheaths and using oligodendrocytes to come in and support us, so that as we do something, it becomes more and more unconscious the more we do it. And it becomes supported to where it becomes second nature. We don't even have to think about it. But it takes that repetition for the brain to say, okay, let's support that neuron and let's make it an unconscious neuron. And now let's make it fire faster and faster. You go from unconsciousness incompetence to unconscious competence through that same process every time. Can you speak to that just a little bit?
Well, first of all, I agree with you, because even the action potential jumps.
Yep.
So as the sensory nerves have to have the action potential just go through the entire nerve, in the actual muscle nerves, they jump through to make it more efficient.
Yeah, wow.
So that's something that you're right on the money there. And the other thing is this: when it comes to how we learn, I mean, selfishly speaking, because ultimately we're living our life, right? As much as I am here to serve and help and have a ripple effect on everybody, I have to start with me.
Yeah.
But if John Smith improves, wouldn't his entire world improve? So if we look at not having to ask for permission from the family or the community and just be us and take the step for our sake and improve for the benefit that's going to help me first. And then because my life improved, won't helping from the overflow help everybody else?
Yeah.
And
It can, if those individuals will choose that for themselves too. So there are people that would stay in that unconscious state and say, well, that's them over there. That's across the tracks. Well, that's the lifestyle of the rich and famous. Right.
He got lucky. But I can see that. I can definitely see that. It swings things into a different favor by taking that action, by being aware and stepping into that. You break cycles, you break patterns, it changes everything.
Yes.
For you, and then potentially for the rest of time. Nick, I you know what's interesting about this show is this hit me just as Maureen was talking, is that I realized why I like her so much. She's like the Maltese version of you.
Okay. Thank you.
You guys are talking about the brain, and I'm like, it's like Nick reincarnate in Maltese form
while I'm alive.
Yeah. Oh, you guys are amazing.
The beauty of what Maureen teaches too is she's done years and years of research around hypnosis and the brain and how it works. And the brain and the body really are designed to support us. We have chemical signals, like you said, the action potentials that jump.
Yep.
When the body releases chemicals, it bypasses any neural pathways. Because if you go into a fight or flight state, the body releases adrenaline, and instantly you're responding. There is no waiting period. There is no slow path. It's an instantaneous transition.
Oh, absolutely.
And so you do have the ability to go from one conscious state or unconscious state to a higher level unconscious state, because your body is designed to release chemicals that will help you do that. Dopamine is an example of that. You can create an instant behavior with dopamine without having to go through the process of waiting 28 days or 268 days or whatever it takes to create a behavior.
Oh, yes, it's fantastic. If you think of a brain as a walnut, and if you go right under here, like really underneath, like almost if you push your tongue through the roof of your mouth, there's a tiny little area called the insula. The insula works on anticipation. Now, we've all seen it work. If you tell kids in July that you're taking them to Disneyland in November, they are ecstatic in July. You haven't taken them yet. It's not even close to November. But because of the expectation, the brain triggers that release, and they're bouncing off the walls. The same thing, if you tell somebody, oh, in a month, I'm taking you to the dentist for a root canal.
That why I couldn't sleep though last night, because of the anticipation then.
Yeah,
like
maybe.
Christmas. Maureen's going to be on.
Yeah. So the insula is there to prepare us. And when it comes to how we take it, now, if I tell somebody who is a little bit on the nervous side, I'm taking you to Disneyland, and their first thought is, oh my God, thousands of people. Oh, no.
Yeah.
No. The insula is triggering not excitement. So we need to see how we're looking at life, because as we go into the crises, like when we're triggered with fight flight, we technically, the brain is different than the mind. So in the mind, we have the conscious mind, which is helping us function. And then we have the critical mind, which is the filter. Then we have the unconscious mind. And then we have the primitive mind. Second, we go into fight flight, we drop from conscious to primitive, meaning we don't have any logic, reasoning, ability to make decisions, analyze, or speak. We go down into the reptilian brain. And if we're stuck in the same old, and if something different happens, we trigger fight flight, we're really looping in a very primitive method of functioning.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, which in that survival state, it's hard to get anything done.
Exactly.
And so here's, one of the ways to go into that unconscious creative state, or to get to that point where your creation becomes unconscious, is to calm your brain down. Because as you calm your brain down, you get curious about your life, like you mentioned, then it not only brings you back, but it expands possibilities. The questions that Rit was asking in the book are, why are there giants? Is that possible for me? How did they get there? Versus, why am I always like this? Why does this always happen to me? Which would be that closing off and fearful state. So the questions you ask, the perceptions that you have, are going to come from the questions you ask. So what's possible? What could I do today? Or what could I create? Is going to create something different. Go ahead.
Yes. The first thing we do when we're triggered to fight flight, we're triggered, by the way, because when we face a crisis, the first instinctive response within us is, this is going to kill me. You're late for an appointment, you go on the freeway, it's a parking lot, and you're like, oh my God, I'm going to be late. We don't think we're going to be late and end of story. As the thought flows through, the first kicker inside us is, I'm going to die. So that's when all the adrenaline, cortisol is shot through.
Yeah.
If we can stop that, if we can instantly, just out loud, say, it's traffic, I'm not going to die. Then we allow our brain to take the next step. And the secondary assessment would be, what can I do about it?
That's interesting, because like a therapist would, we used to take, one of my kids had severe anxiety. And so he would make her say her magic words, which were, it's all right, and I'm okay.
There you go.
And that was enough to stop that and say it out loud. Hey, let's say our magic words real quick. It's all right, I'm okay. And when we did that, right, all those chemicals
Yeah, they calm down, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you could think, right, like that. Hey, I'm not dying. I'm not dying. It's okay.
Well, I pictured the Croods. I don't know if you've seen the Croods, the cartoon, the movie. He's sitting there telling the story to the family, and at the very end, he slams his hand on the table and he says, "And they died," and it's like everything is like the worst case scenario, and they died, and the idea of you go to work and you're going to be late for work or you're going to have an accident. You have the fear from having the accident. You get to work, oh, I'm going to be fired. If I get fired, that means I'm not going to have food. And if I don't have food, I'm going to die. And it's just this cycle that just goes, and like the worst case always goes through our mind. But the reality is we're okay.
It's because the mind is there to protect us, right? It's trying to
and it's doing what it's designed to do. There's nothing wrong with your brain and having those thoughts. It's the attention you give it and the actions you take around it that will create that in your world. If you've got those negative thoughts, I have negative thoughts.
We all do.
Yeah, a lot more than people would realize. They would disturb you.
A minute in the brain of Nick would be disturbing.
You would come out and be like, wow, I think I like the movie A Beautiful Mind better than I like Nick's mind.
Oh my God.
But it's the attention you give it. It's that, hey, that's a part of it. That acceptance.
Just also ask,
yeah,
why am I going down this pathway? There's a reason why we are going down this pathway, even in the negative thinking.
Yeah.
Because how many times do we say, be aware of the red flags?
Yeah.
Because red flags mean danger, and danger we should stay away from, because the need to stay alive is hopefully vetoing every other decision. So when we go down that pathway, even just thinking, just ask yourself, what am I learning from this? Not why. Why keeps us stuck?
Right.
What am I learning from this? And if you realize that it's negative, how can I get out of it?
Beautiful.
What can I do to get out of this? Because there's, lemonade out of lemons. There is something we can do.
Yeah, that takes you into possibility thinking. That's beautiful. That's the creative space right there.
Yes.
Yeah.
And what happens? Okay, so let's say I know people who are petrified of making a decision because what if it's the wrong decision? Well, what if it's the wrong decision? Make another decision. Unless you're tattooing happy on your face, make another decision.
You're gonna have a bunch of tattooed giants, happy on their forehead. That'd be awesome.
Tattoos can be removed now.
Yeah.
So if the worst case scenario is you tattooed happy on your forehead, remove it.
Yeah.
But you can definitely make another decision.
That's perfect. I know we could go hours on this, and the beauty of this is just a highlight, just a taste of what's coming in the event, because unconsciousness goes into awareness. And then when you have awareness, you create acceptance, just like you described. And it's from acceptance that you start to feel like some grief, right? Which is a very natural process because you start to feel sad about what is not.
Yep.
And then from there, you start to have gratitude for what is and what remains. And it's so this whole cycle of just going through unconsciousness, awareness, acceptance, unconsciousness, awareness, acceptance, grief, and then moving forward and growing step by step. And so,
by the way, even uplifting triggers fear.
Say that again.
Even improving your life triggers fear.
Yeah.
If you're used to living in average and you worked your buzz off and now you've actually upgraded to phenomenal. Getting accustomed to phenomenal from average takes a while. Even if it's the best thing you've ever dreamed of, all your wishes came true, you still have to go, wait a second, what am I doing here again? And then you go through the entire process for that to become your norm.
Yeah, beautiful.
That's how I know I'm growing too. Is I feel those, like I'm right on that edge, as Manchuri had commented. There's something like a little bit. I don't know. Just there's a feeling that I feel, and it might be a little bit different for everybody else, but I'm like, ooh, that's a little uncomfortable. Let's do this, because I know, hey, I'm going to grow through it. Now, before I used to fear it. Like I used to, it would be paralyzing, and I would stop. And then now, I feel that I don't even call it the fear quite as much anymore, but there's like a little tickle in the old tummy. And I'm like, ooh, I know what that is now.
What if you had,
Rock and roll. Here we go.
what if you had to change it from fear to excitement?
Yeah. See,
Yeah.
that was kind of more how it was for me. It's like this, ooh, yeah.
So excite, right? I'm going to hit on this and then we'll kind of wrap up. To excite is to stimulate, right? So when you say, if you're in an adrenal state, which is what it is, or your dopamine's firing, the same feelings that you feel jumping out of an airplane, if you're excited about that, are the same feelings you feel when you're afraid of a lion.
Yes.
It's you're stimulated. And so to be excited, scientists use that term, there's excitation. When something is excited, there's an action that occurs, there's a result that comes from that. And so being excited in your life isn't a lie. It is your body is stimulated. So changing the languaging of excited doesn't mean that you absolutely love it. It could be, but it's that your body is stimulated. You get to shift how you see that. You might just say, I love it, and really mean it. Go ahead.
I actually had that experience. I did jump out of a plane.
Okay.
And I remember I did a tandem because I'm not absolutely crazy, just a tiny bit. When the guy said we're going to jump on 3 and he actually jumped on 2, I remember I realized, I'm like, my feet aren't touching anything. And I turn around and the plane is to my right. And I'm like, oh my God, the plane is over there. And then I'm like, oh my God, I'm falling. Oh my God, this is fantastic. It took just less than 3 seconds. But I went from, and by the way, I did sign up for it. So it was completely intentional. But
yeah,
the plane's over there. I'm oh my God, 13,000 feet in the air. And then, oh, look at this, it's fun.
Huh.
So we can instantly change it, even when you're literally falling out of the sky.
That's beautiful. Yeah, jump on 2.
Every day. It makes love. It's what makes it livable. And when you go from beige to fuchsia.
Yeah, there you go. That's a marine original right there. And I know we're so far over on time, but go ahead and share what beige means to you.
Oh, yeah. Beige is death. Beige is monotony. Beige is, seriously, we have millions of masterpieces from the 7 colors of a rainbow. And why would we choose beige? With all the respect, everybody, seriously, take a step out of the line and color outside the line and take the risk and be curious and take the next step and ask boldly and ask the question you're terrified of asking, because the second you ask, you have a 50% higher chance of getting a yes. So don't stay in this little globe that we've created for ourselves because it's safe.
Yeah.
Safe is beige and safe is a gilded cage. So break out, live it, be you, be the boldest you can be, because then when you look back, you're like, oh my gosh, look what I actually lived. Then you're good.
So 2 takeaways. Don't live a beige life and jump on 2.
Yes.
Giants, go make it a conscious day. And let's go ahead and wrap up there. Any final thoughts?
Go make it a fuchsia day, Giants.
Fuchsia.
Yeah, it's all about making it fuchsia.
Absolutely.
All right, guys. Thanks for watching. We will see you in the next video.
Love you too.